Heart and soul. We are still forever on an adventure in faith. I almost said that as if that was a notice of some sort, when in truth, we've established this years ago. And the truth is that, at least in my life, and I appreciate your patience and understanding with me in dealing with me, that in my life, my sense is that every day throughout the day, it's an adventure in faith. Now, sometimes I miss that that's what it is. Sometimes I think it's an opportunity for me to set something straight, that someone has requested my input without asking directly. Sometimes I misunderstand that it is simply an adventure in faith, and that my role, for real, is to buckle up for the ride. But I just want to acknowledge that the video of my life, if it were to ever be played, and it won't, would reveal that I get it confused sometimes. That I forget that I am simply on an adventure. And I take it seriously, and I begin to try to address it in ways that are not helpful or beneficial in any way, shape, or form. And the blessing, I stand here before you giving thanks that I come to myself. However long it takes, I come to myself and realize this is an adventure in faith. And what we gleaned last week is I can see clearly now. On the other side of whatever the rough ride was, whatever the misunderstanding was, whatever the point of ignorance was, I can see clearly now. This is why I recommend to all of us to do our studies. That when we gather on Sunday, and I'm grateful that we come together on Sunday and we join in the songs and we join in the affirmations and recitations. We do it all. And I just need to say it's not enough to transform lives. It can set you up for that, but it's too short. It's like you could almost leave the motor running and just dart in and have this experience, and we design it for you intentionally so that we can deliver everything we can think of. But we are literally in here less than 2 hours. From the start of the service to the end is somewhere in the vicinity of about an hour and a half, give or take. It's just not, you don't even think you've taken a class where the session is an hour and a half, yes? Oh, I'm just up here by myself. And it's all right, because I was one of those kids that I just, I entertain me. Just all up in my own head with it. But I was kind of hoping we could be in this together. That this idea of being willing to engage ourselves in whatever is required for the journey. And it's going to require something more. This is why I want to remind you that tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Well, let me back up first before I tell you about tomorrow. We launched summer school last Wednesday. And so we have 4 more Wednesdays. What we are using as our text for summer school is our daily read. And what is it? Guidance for a spiritual journey. That's what we're doing. So every Sunday, I am going to the best of my ability, I think every Sunday, I am going to be speaking from that as my text. What's true is that I'm going to show up, I'm going to do my prep like I do, and then I'm going to say what I'm given to say. And so we just going to see how that unfolds. my intention is to tie the Wednesdays and the Sundays together. And this is in part why I am pausing for a moment to remind you that our licensed practitioners on the, what is it, the third Monday of every month, they have a book study. And the book study is for guidance for a spiritual journey. And so I encourage you, you got your Wednesday, you get a little piece, break off a little piece on Sunday, get some on Monday as well. Why? Because this is what it takes to transform one's life. Some of us have seen the demonstration of if you take just a white cloth and you dip it in indigo. One dip is not enough. I mean, it's going to pick up some color, so it's better than no dip at all. Let's be clear. I'm not chastising you. This is my intention is to engage you and invite you into the deeper end of the pool. But if you're just sitting on the side kicking one foot, I'm like, good for you. Get that foot in that water. And if somehow you like, I can't get my foot wet today, I'm just going to hang out here on the lounge chair. I'm like, go on, girl, be at the pool. Be at the pool. Don't get wet. Be at the pool. And there's points for just being at the pool. If you're in this game, though, for the transformation of your life, you're going to have to get wet, baby. It's going to require some hair and everything. I just, I know it could be an issue, but I'm going to have to tell you, hair and everything, it's all going to get wet. Yes. Yes. So you decide at what level you can play when. But I encourage you to play full out because our lives individually and collectively depend upon our willingness to have the full adventure. Yeah? So look, a part of this adventure that, we've kind of cooked up for you includes transforming our thinking. And so sometimes there are thoughts that, would you understand if I said kind of hide in the cut? Y'all understand what I mean when I say that? Okay. So we have thoughts sometimes that just kind of hide in the cut. We're not even we have no conscious awareness that that's what we believe, that these are thoughts that we repeat. And a lot of our thinking has to do with the degree of prosperity that we sense for ourselves at any given time. That so many of us are not claiming prosperity. Instead, our perception is, and our declaration, though silent, it's an inside job. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I mean when I say it's hiding in the cut. So we're not saying it aloud. We're not necessarily having conversation about it, but it's a belief system that is doing its work in there. And so rather than affirming, believing, embracing prosperity and an abundance of all things good, which is what Catherine Ponder says prosperity is. It's an abundance of all things good. So that would include our health and well-being. Get some. It would include the quality of our relationships. It would include everything you can think of that you desire in your life would be included in your thinking about your life in prosperous ways, having prosperous thoughts about it. Very often, though, what our response is, I don't have enough. I won't be able to play in that particular game. And we forget that the universe and our subconscious is not differentiating. It's not saying, oh, you don't have $5 to give towards the goodness of fill in the rest of the blank. It just hears you say you don't have. So your life unfolds out of a you don't have. Your life presents itself through, see, if I had the special effects, Here, let me try to describe to you what you'd see. I would show you that once I would show you that once I declare that I don't have. Like we've been talking about, and Ron, thank you so much for speaking to us so clearly about our giving for the food bank and what that goes towards. Let me use that as an example, yes? So for everyone who's like, oh, I would give to that if I could. Watch this. Pretend like I have special effects. So now I've just had this thought. Even if I haven't said it aloud, I'm not responding to that because I'm believing I don't have enough. Now, in that thought, my universe shifts. Oh, sorry. Because I can do it from here just like from over there. I was just trying to get with y'all's energy a little bit because there's some good, well, anyhow. So from right here, I've had the thought, I've been entertaining the idea, I don't have enough to give to that. I don't have enough to do this. I don't have enough to do that, okay? And we don't have to be talking about a bunch of money. Oh, sorry. All we have to do is be of that frame of mind. Because once I entertain that, I'm now in an energetic field that matches that. Okay, look, can you see it? You're going to have to use your imagination. Can you see the field? It's a little funky. Some of y'all up close can probably smell it because it's a little funky because it's outside of the realm of divine good. You see what I'm saying? So because I am entertaining ideas of less thanness, I have less than I would need to have in order to share. See, we don't understand that our subconscious, our divine intelligence is not interested in the details. Not at all, not one detail. It's simply as you have just affirmed, I don't have. And so then your personal universe forms itself out of that idea. Why? Because it is done unto you as you believe. So while you are believing that, it is forming around you. It is shifting possibility. See, if I had the special effects, what you'd see is that I started over here where I knew. Not only do I have that, I got a bag of chips too. And you know, in the vernacular, when you have all that and a bag of chips, you got it all. That said it. So that was for the benefit of those of y'all who don't do like, what's she talking about? How'd she get on chips? All right. So the idea is when I say and a bag of chips, that like settles it. I got it all. So from an attitude of gratitude and thanksgiving for the generosity of the universe and the divine, the all in all, who has provided absolutely everything I have ever needed, not necessarily in the order that I would have listed it, and yet I've never done without, really. I have felt like I have, but in the final analysis, once I got to where I was going and looked back, I got, oh, I see it was always there. I had it all the time. So you see, in this attitude, in this energetic field, there's something else happening. You have to use your imagination. You can see a different energy. I almost feel like you could also see it in my posture. You know, so with the special effects, you begin to see all that is happening, how my thinking, my believing is awakening certain things and releasing others. So from over here, there's something happening that is in alignment with my vision and dreams and prayers for my life. Over here, not so much. Not so much. Because over here, I am fighting against it. I am denying that it's so. What did you know, in the room, y'all, we begin with this month, stir it up. Stir up the gift. It's from 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, 1 Timothy, 1 Timothy. Stir up the gift of God. What is it? God has not given us a spirit of fear. But over here, I'm living from a spirit of fear. Over here, I'm afraid to give the 5 or the 10 or the 20 or the whatever it is, because why? I got a whole story, I have a whole scenario, I have an equation that is what? Built on fear. Over here, I'm more aligned with God has not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power and love, joy and peace. And what does the lyric say? His happiness. You better ask somebody. His happiness. That's really where I want to start, because you know, I've never been in a class or I can't recall having, and I've been churched. I cannot recall, which is why I'm up here in this jacket. That's the only reason I'm up here in this jacket. It is because I have been churched. It's all right. It'll rest there just fine. It's because I've been, you know, I wanted to not, but you know, when you've been, you got all these rules and stuff. So I started out obeying the rule, and I'm complete now. So look, through all those sermons and messages and classes and reading and recitation, nobody ever talked clearly, at least so that I could understand it, about how important being happy is. In fact, happiness often felt like that was not an appropriate focus of our time and energy. But here's what I've learned, is that if you can't, and I learned it the hard way. I wish they just taught it and I could have just learned it. But instead, I decided to serve whatever master was required in order for me to get that learning. That moving forward, living life from happy is different than any other state. And in fact, there are some accomplishments, some forward motion that cannot be made except from happy. Because happy is an energy. It's an energetic field, and if we're not moving from there, ooh, Lord, don't ask me how I know. Hard lesson. Trying to trudge through fear and pain, a sense of betrayal and doubt and all of the things just layering on my shoulders. But I'm still trying to do all that I want to accomplish, but from a negative energetic. And so what I've learned is that time is well spent getting to happy. Because once from happy, so much can be. And I know this sounds trite to some people. You thinking, I got up this morning, came all the way in there. Oh, sorry. I came all the way in there to get happy. You did, yes. And you must be the one who needed to get happy. Because it makes a difference. So I don't know what you're going to have to do in order to raise your vibration to a level of happy. But I can, test it and see. Yes? Don't believe me. Don't believe me. Test it. Go home and say, start now. Don't wait till you get home. But test it and see if you get into a vibration of happy. Now, how to get there? Probably not the way you think. Your life does not have to change in order for you to be happy. You have to be happy in order for your life to change. So it's like shifting the order of those. Because sometimes we feel like, well, I would be happy if I had a happy life. And I'm like, probably not. Because if you have habitually not been happy, you won't even recognize a happy life. Happy life could have come and gone 3-4 different times. And you missed it. Why? Because you were whining and in your fear. Dipping in the pool of fear and doubt and all the stuff. I don't have to name it. Y'all know what's in there. Yes, yes. So here's the idea. When we signed up, if you will, when we offered the opportunity to this community to begin giving to the food bank, it was not, the food bank did not come to us and ask. I was thinking about, what can I do? What can we do so that we are giving folks an opportunity to set a new pattern? To set a pattern of regular, consistent giving that is outside of the typical transactional giving. I'm not looking at anybody, I don't know about individuals giving, but often church giving is transactional. Especially back in the day. Back in the day when, the room was full of people and most of the 90% of the giving was in the room. It was kind of based on how they liked the music and the preacher and who was there. It was transactional. If they didn't like the message, not as much. I'm not breaking off as big a piece today. If it's good, the music was good, the talk, and by good, it means I liked it. It doesn't mean it was special in any other way than simply that it hit me a certain way. So when all those things lined up, I gave more. Transactional giving. So now it spins the same, but energetically for the giver, it's very different. And so what we wanted to do was to offer an opportunity for heart and soulers to come out of any degree of transactional giving and simply give because. And the because is because I perceive that I can. Y'all don't even know that ought to cost extra. Just for the one who can move from I can't to, I could give a couple of dollars. And then, I could give $5 because I just found this $5 in my purse, in the car console. I could give because what we want to get to is an energetic vibration of I can give. And I am giving. Because when you get there, the world opens up for you. The universe opens up. Your subconscious opens to another scenario. Now I'm reluctant to go over there because, it's a little funky right there. So I'm just going, every time I start going over there, I can feel it. So I'm just going to stay right here probably and do this for a little while anyhow. So look, there's a talk. It really is. Okay, look. I want to be sure you get this idea that whatever we do regularly and consistently, and I said do, but in order, do is way down the demonstration equation, if you will. Timeline. Right here is B. So what we're looking to do is to be regular and consistent with the way we see the divine showing up in our lives. I'm sorry, I know I've already given somebody a headache. Let me just apologize because it's just beginning. Because I know this pushes against a lot that we've been taught or that we picked up on the block. It pushes against it. And so because it's pushing against it, it is not logical to our thinking mind. But if I don't have it, see, this is where we want to go. But if I don't have it, I just don't have it. You don't want me to go in debt to support. See, you missed the whole point. You are in another universe of thinking. The fact that you made it in here today, the fact that y'all got a device on which to watch this, probably says that you are not at risk of losing everything over $2 to $5 to the food bank. Or whatever else is holding you in a pattern, an eddy, if you will. Y'all know what an eddy is. Yeah. The eddy would be over here because it's a little funky thing. It means that there's no circulation, so it just continues to turn on itself. It's like if this is your thinking in this mind. So where you said I don't have enough, and that just keeps turning on itself. Gets funkier and funkier, funkiest at some point. And so you begin to live from the funk, and not in a good party way. Let's just be clear, because I know my people, I just have to, but I thought not in that good party way. It ain't that kind of funk. This funk is the funk that holds you in a pattern that you probably didn't even know you had. You didn't even know that was from whence you were starting. And so today is about that in its own way. So look, that's my ask. My ask is that whatever you do, and I'd love for you to give to the food bank that we're going to tell you about again at the end of the service. But that's not essential. What's essential is that you give. That you give and you know it's not transactional. It's not, well, I got something good, so I'm willing to give. This is you giving because you can give. And the moment you perceive that you can give, you've created an opening in your life. Because life requires that you give. There's no way for you to be on this planet and not give and rise above anything. Can you get that it's an energetic presence that we're talking about? So there are a few people. Did I just go too far? I ain't scared about going too far. I'm just asking. I'm just checking in. Is there any question about that? For real, for real. Any question about that? Somebody like, this just doesn't make sense because where I live and what we do, is there any of that present? Don't be scared. No? If you have a question, put it in the chat. Yes.
I kind of go in and out of that. Sometimes I get it.
Yeah.
And then I just, something happens and I just like have amnesia.
Okay.
About the energetic.
Right.
And that's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I started out talking about that for me. So, no offense, but you ain't special. Show of hands. All the folks who, that's life in this realm as humans. Now, what you didn't ask a question. You just made the statement. That part. You keep going. It's not deep, it's not special. You keep going. You realize it. Awareness can be curative. So here's a thing that can be very helpful, is at the point that we have observed ourselves, and self-observance and self-awareness is key to this, absolutely critical in this. You cannot play this game and not know you. And I know that's counterintuitive because the world shows up and we like, you don't need to know that about you. You just watch how others respond to you and just build I don't know what that would be. But the idea here is pay attention. And at some point, you'll begin to notice what puts you to sleep. You'll begin to notice what numbs you to your truth. You'll begin to notice when it is that you lose control of this high thinking, this expanded awareness that I don't think there's a one of us in this room right now who hasn't had it. The question is, what do you do when you don't have it? Now, there's a point at which when when it first hits you, you're probably not even aware. You cannot make a change from a point of unawareness. If you don't know it's happening, you can't do nothing. Ride the wave. But the moment you become aware, you know what I mean? You just like, what am I doing here? What? I was fasting once. And when I came to, I was chewing. On a fast. And when I came to a point of self-awareness, I was chewing something. Just for clarity, this was not no eating fast. So now at the point that I don't even remember what it was, but whatever it was, it did not originate in my mouth. I put it in there. So I don't remember going to get it. I don't remember if I unwrapped it or, got it out. I don't remember any of that. When I came to, I was chewing. So I could not change any of how it got there. But I could sure change the moment I came to. What do? You take it out. You don't spend the rest of the week talking about how you found yourself chewing and you then swallowed. You put in the change where you can put in the change. Where you cannot change, you can't do it. But in that awareness, the next fast, you're going to remember you caught yourself chewing. So you don't act like you don't know you. And you begin to set some things in place so that it's less likely you're going to look up chewing on a fast. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. I'm just, I'll do whatever I can to help the understanding happen, Lord. Okay, so look. Ooh-wee. Okay, well, tell you what we're doing. This idea of being happy, and what are the other principles that we could also embrace from this place of happiness? Because happiness is an expansive place. Can you feel that? It gives you a space for something else. So to love, to learn, to walk kinder. So look, what I'm knowing here is Ricky Byers wrote a song, Holy, Holy Way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me embrace happiness in a holy, holy way. And what I love is it probably sounds like I'm saying holy, holy, the same word. I'm not. I'm saying holy, holy way. In a holy, holistically holy way. That happiness we're talking about has a certain depth to it. Let me share the good that's overflowing. That's a consciousness. That's a conscious awareness that there is good overflowing, and I need to be a part of that. That's right. And there always is. There's always good overflowing. Oh, yes. There used to be, I've probably shared this many, many times, but there was a commercial decades ago. I have no idea what the product was. What I know is that what we saw was a guy sitting at a work table. He was in a cubicle. So there were several cubicles, and he was doing this with his pencil. And each time it would kind of bounce and it would go a little higher. And then with the magic of television, the pencil ended up stuck in those you know those little, um, the acoustic tile. That's exactly it. So the pencil point got stuck there. So he climbs up on the desk to get it down. And to get it down, he does this, he's doing this, and he sees that there's light up there. So then he takes the tile down and looks, there's a whole party going on up there. There's a whole, and I have no idea what the product was, nor do I care. Because what it said for me is, where in my life is that true? Because that whole pencil thing was, he was struggling to do whatever it was he was required to do, to write something, create something. So he was in a stuck place. So while he's down here in this little private prison of a universe, there's a whole party going on right there. I thought, oh, baby, you need to get this straight. Because where in my life am I limiting myself to this energy of what's not working and what I don't have or what's missing, and ain't it hard and ain't it difficult? And then it's like, what? While I do that, there's the whole thing is happening in a positive, empowering, high energy way. I thought, oh, I got to shift this. But I always remembered that because it occurs to me even now that there's always something more, something else that is possible for us. Why? Because God has not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power and love, joy and peace. Pardon me. And his happiness. And so the idea here is that happiness is a key part to the equation. So for the reading for today in Guidance for a Spiritual Journey, and to me, the question, the opportunity before us is how do I manage myself? Because I'm responsible for me. So how do I manage me in a way where the outcome is for the highest possible benefit? And if it's for my highest possible benefit, then it is simply for the highest possible benefit. Because there's nothing that is highly beneficial for me that is not beneficial. Does that make sense? If not, we got some classes starting in September. Because it's an important point. And I'm not believing, pardon me, that it has to make sense to everybody. We weren't necessarily trained in our homes. The school we went to probably didn't teach it. So I'm not belittling. I'm simply saying if that doesn't make sense, it simply indicates that we have work to do. And we're up to it. Because Heart and Soul is about supporting the expansion. It's about supporting the awareness, the expansion of one's awareness, so that more good can be honored and embraced. Yeah? Yeah. So part of what's before us is how do I manage myself? First of all, it's to know that our power is in our heart mind. So very often in a more traditional church setting, it would be that we would say that it would all be in God. The challenge with that is true. The challenge is that when you teach and treat God as separate, it makes it inaccessible to you. So I know there could be some folks who would be like, what she just say? Did she just say it was in her? You know, it could sound blasphemous. But what I know is that God is either everywhere, always present, and that would have to include me. Now, whether you like me or not doesn't matter. It does not change the presence of God. And whether I like you or not doesn't matter. It does not change the presence of God. And when we begin to get that, we get that it no longer matters about our personal preference. We begin to get a sense of the presence of God, and we see how we can manage how we sense that, how we take that in, the degree to which we really believe it. So look, Dr. Daniel Morgan writes, this is for July 16th in Guidance for a Spiritual Journey, and it's entitled, God Individualized as You. So if you don't see God in and as me, that's on you. You know what I mean? That shows you on this adventure in faith, you got work to do. And likewise, if I'm not seeing God in you and as you, I got work to do. That's all that's telling us. Does that make sense? Because it's true of everyone, regardless of their station in life, no matter how they look, no matter how they sound, there are no exceptions. All of this, God is all there is, how it rolls off the tongue. And there's only God, and God 24/7, 365. And then we proceed to have exceptions, except for all those people in that section. It either is or it isn't. And it is, and so our work is to have that be true on our planet. Yes, our personal planet, our mind, our life work. I'm not pretending it's easy. It may be easy for you. It has not been easy for me. I'm still working it out. I tell y'all, this is not a mountaintop ministry. You did not roll up in here expecting to see me from the top of the mountain trying to tell y'all how good it is up there. I am down here on this adventure in faith trying to work it out. And what's different is that I'm willing to put on a mic and tell y'all about it. I'm not clear that y'all would do that for me. But it matters not, because this is what I have chosen. What I have chosen is to do it this way. So here's what Dr. Dan says. He says, of all the things we live for, the greatest is happiness. He may be the only one who's ever told you that. Of all of the things we live for, because we probably have a whole list, and happy may not show up on that. The greatest, he says, is happiness. No one likes to be miserable. We may have a habit of being miserable, of taking on an attitude of misery, fixing our face in that way, because it backs people up. We may not want people to know we're happy because they may want something, or whatever it is that we come up with about that keeps us from our greatest good, because we have some story that says it will be disadvantageous for me to express happy. But somehow we think there's an advantage to being miserable. We need help. We need help. He says life is a mixture of light and shadow. Of course it would have to be. But even when we walk through the night, our load is through the night. He don't mean after dark, like on the clock night. He means like the dark night of the soul. Even when we walk through the night, our load is lightened by the thought of tomorrow's rising sun. Is there a one of us who hasn't been in a difficult place, who didn't have a thought of, but maybe tomorrow will be better, or in a week after I take the medicine, after I go this, after I work this out? We always have on the horizon an idea of it being better. That's what I believe he's talking about here. He says, fortunately, many of our troubles are imaginary, even if we think they're real. Many of our troubles are imaginary, the result of the wrong mental attitude toward the world, and particularly toward our relation to God, how we see God and how we see us, and all of that, the way it comes together for us. We have imagined a problem that is not. He goes on to say that education, awareness, giving way to new ideas. What is education but the inclusion of new ideas? You haven't been educated. If you come out of there knowing what you knew when you know what I mean. Order as in divine order, the way things work, and faith are all that stand between us and the Stone Age, is what he offers us in that. He says that we must accept life, whether it comes in the form of science, religion, psychology, or whatnot. He says you will experience happiness only as you experience more life. You will experience happiness only as you experience more life, only as you open yourself to greater possibilities, only as you move beyond wherever you put the limit. Can I just... Come on now. You know, I absolutely believe, I take my little Kaiser card right on over to the Kaiser when I think I need to. But I do not make them a god and worship at the altar of Kaiser and whoever they put in front of me. I go there to get information. And if I think that the information is going to be too difficult, you have to take somebody with you. I've told you this before. Do not go in there, especially for specialized treatment. You know, at the point that they're talking surgery or whatever it is, have somebody with you so that they can take notes and you can be in prayer. So that you can simply say, God is all there is. I am safe in God. God is surrounding and enfolding me from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, in and throughout the entirety of my body. God is. See, that's your job. Somebody else is taking notes on what you need and when and the blood test and the whatever the lab work is and all the stuff. Does this make sense? Yeah. Because you cannot afford to worship at the altar of a prognosis or a diagnosis. Yes, you just can't. I'm not saying you don't need to have the information and do the thing. You cannot give up your whole belief system to somebody, because if you're just moving through the system where it's just escalating, you ultimately are going to be in front of somebody you've never seen before. And they getting ready to get all up in your life. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that it's not about you. It's about a condition. It's about a state in your body. You are not a state in your body. You are a divine being who's going through something. You must protect, you must hold sacred your divinity. Even as you're going through this process. Did I ever say this would be easy? No. Okay, good. Because it won't necessarily. This is why you want to make sure you have help, that you have support, so that you can be present to the wholeness of the divine, so that you can know that something is already happening in you just out of your awareness and willingness to go. And let somebody else keep up with those details, because some of those details can unrail your clarity about who you are and whose you are. I've been up here way too long.
So I invite you to join me in prayer. In this now moment, I am giving thanks for the presence of the One showing up as each and every person within the sound of my voice and beyond. I'm giving thanks for all that has transpired this day, for the way that we were touched in word and with sound, and just the presence of being together in community. I'm giving thanks for the reminder that our freedom lies in our happiness. So I'm grateful for all the hands that touched our service today. I'm grateful for knowing that we are not the same ones that walked in this building this morning as we depart, and that we're not the same ones who tuned in online. I give thanks for knowing that as we move from this time into the rest of our day, that we are enveloped by the love and grace and goodness of Spirit. I'm so grateful for this and so much more. We just allow it to be, and so it is. Amen. Amen.